Ding ding. Apple Watch telling me that I'm live. Get some folks in here. Let's sing a refresh. Should be cooking. Gonna get logged into the laptop here, and we'll get started. We still gotta break down this rig here, but then we'll get into getting some simple mining loaded. Now I have Miss BBT here right now. She should be here in a little bit and answer your guys' help answer the questions and stuff. Running a little behind, but I went ahead and just started it on time. About 29 in, so we're gonna break this down real quick, and then I'm gonna bring over a rig that's kind of already built. It's an NVIDIA rig, and then I'm gonna move the camera over to the laptop, or at least where you guys can see the screen, and we're gonna walk through a cradle to grave on simple mining tonight. They've changed a few of the interface settings in simple mining, so like there's rig groups. There's ways to configure multiple, if you have multiple machines, you could have like your NVIDIA machines mining Zcash or Zencoin, or you could have like your AMD machines doing dual mining with ETH and let's say Scicoin and that kind of thing. So now simple mining, it's supported it for a while, we just haven't done a video. So the goal tonight is just to show another fresh video from cradle to grave. Now that'll be supported with a follow-up episode video. We're about to press the video for the deep dive on the RX 470s, kind of like we did with the Man Lee cards, which are over here, the P106s. That's the next episode that'll come out is those, and then followed up we'll do a clear and concise like 7-minute video, 6-minute video, just on simple mining. So it's like the faster version of what we're about to go through tonight, because tonight is to show you literally cradle to grave, like how long does it take. It might be an hour and 20-minute video, just from the time that it takes to download it and install it onto a USB, plug it in, put your address in there, configure it, all that kind of stuff. So that's what this video is tonight. We're going to break this down first, and I'm going to be watching the chat as much as I can until Miss BBT gets here tonight. She was actually doing a different event and should be showing up here pretty soon. She's probably watching us right now on her phone. Hopefully not while driving, but we're going to break this guy down. I'll try to answer any questions as I'm breaking this down. This is the 21 card rig. I just kind of let it sit here and let it run. It actually ran for about 19 hours. Windows had another update, so it automatically shut it down. So I was going to show that running, but it only showed it like running for 6 hours, so I didn't want to like confuse people. So we're going to break this one down real quick, get these off to the side, and then we'll be looking at doing probably another one of these kind of builds. We got a triple rack getting built to put, you know, up to 30 plus cards on one rig. We'll see if we can break our other record, but for right now, we're going to break these down. These are the Nitro RX 470 mining cards. So if there's any gamers out there hating when they see all these GPUs here, these GPUs are not for you guys. These are mining GPUs. So these are purpose-built for the task of mining. I'd like to do another video also with trying these on other tasks besides mining, such as like folding at home or any of those tasks. I've had a lot of questions if that actually works or not on these. On the TCC mode on these P106s, it should, because they're actually in Tesla core cluster mode, which is by design what like the Teslas come in. These are the P106s. I had all the switches over. These things are like impossible to find in the States. I've had quite a few people send me messages about trying to pick these up, but we only have a handful of them, so right now we'd like to use them just for testing. We're looking at getting the P106 100s. The only problem is I have to buy them in huge bulk. And I'd like to test stuff before we'd ever try to sell any of it. Just because anybody that's ever dealt with having to sell things, it's a different element of fun, let's just say. Every customer is a little different. Get all these unplugged, break this down. And I know this just kills some people, like, oh my god, look at all that cheddar not making money. I hear you. The things we do to walk you guys through stuff. Evidently I just played Electronic Arts, $5.30, and my Apple Watch just told me. I think that was a renewal for Origin. This Apple Watch I'm starting to like. This is the new one. I actually put a poll out there. Didn't look at the latest, but it looked like you guys didn't care about an opening on it, so I just took it out and put it on. But I am liking it. I like the notifications and updates, just kind of quick, and then it fades away. It's pretty baller. I have to start a new row for these. So this was an activity I was going to try to do before the start of this video. Jed Thorne, I got 64 cards on one rig. Are you telling me to do that, or are you saying that you did that? You should tweet us that picture. Yeah, I've had a few people send us emails trying to figure out, you know, with all the hardware and stuff behind us, they're like, oh my gosh, it looks like Jay's room or somebody else's room. Who all sponsors you? Nobody does, guys. We don't have any sponsors. This is all a collaborative mission between a few of us here in the BBT fam. We try to help folks for the greater good. I mean, you guys are awesome and do some donations here and there and super chat and stuff like that, but we're going to take these off. These are the splitters that we had covered in the last one, 8 to 2/8. People are wondering what I'm breaking down here. We used a handful of these on this rig. Here's another one. Single 8 to dual 8s. Dual 8s and dual 6s. That's the way that works. So you can put those together to make an 8 and an 8 pin PCIe. We're using them for the 6 pins for the risers. You tweeted a video. If that was that one in the kind of a boxed room, that was on several motherboards, right? That wasn't on one rig. I mean, there wasn't one motherboard supporting all those. That's the one I saw. I just saw it looked like a room of rigs. because you had a huge spacing between all of them. And you wouldn't have had the risers. The biggest risers that we've tested is 100 centimeter. And the normal ones that we have here, I think, are 60 centimeter. And we've just got some 80 centimeter ones in. This one here. This is an 80 centimeter. And what we mean is the length in this. So you can see there's that length. Here's a standard riser that you would order length. So if I pair those up, there's the difference. So that little bit matters. I'm going to leave it. So, and then your hundreds are about right here. So that's the difference. It's a little over a riser in length, almost 2 risers worth of length of extra space. So those are the ones we're ordering now, mainly because of this, because this doesn't give you the range when you're going to be working a lot. And if we're going to try to get this up to 30 or 40 cards in one board, we need to have the length. Break this down here. Pull all these. Pull them out of this board. Yeah, I was going to try to get this done before we had the live stream, guys. I've just been busy. So I figured, I'll start on time and we can just do this together. You guys can ask me some questions if you want. I'll try to answer them. I'll look over and see. We just zipped a few risers to these boards for testing purposes. Are we planning to test the 1080 Ti? Yes, we ordered a 1080 Ti. The Zotac Amped Extreme. I'm a big fan of the Zotacs, so we ordered one of them. And depending on that output, we'll finish that build out and go 6 or 8 of them. But before I drop that kind of loot on, because they're about 500 bucks a piece. We're, again, there's that whole point that we are not funded by anybody besides our own pocketbooks, folks. So we drop a lot to test for you guys and for the community. Even non-optimal setups, which we like doing, so I'm not complaining at all. I'm just saying that there's a balance to things that we have to make sure we adhere to. Get all these guys together. But yes, we will. It's not the Zotac Mini. We're doing the Amped Extreme. So it's the triple fan. It's the big boy. Just because we have a 1070 Zotac. We did give one of the 1070 Amped Extremes away, but in one of our giveaways. But we have a 1070 Amped Extreme, and we have the 1080 Ti Amped Extreme. So I think it'll be a good test with all the Zotacs. And plus, it's a little different. I don't see Kyle. I mean, I think Kyle just did a live stream, or he's still doing a live stream right now. And he's doing a boxing, I think, of the EVGA, maybe ESC, SC2, or For the Win 3. I don't know. Somebody can post in there what Kyle's opening. But he's doing that one. I think Jay's maybe got like a Asus. I think it's an Asus. Gamers Nexus got, I don't remember which one they got, but they got one that they broke down. I think it was the Vulcan or something. The colorful, I think 1080 Ti. They got So everybody has, I think, a different 1080 Ti. Again, we're buying ours, so I wanted to go kind of, you know, a real juiced up one, just to see what it does. I would anticipate the 1080 Ti is going to come in right smack in the middle between the 1080 and the 1080 Ti, or I think it's going to come in between the 1080 and the 1080 Ti when it comes to like Zcash. I can imagine it beating pretty handedly the 1070, obviously, and that. You know what? I haven't researched though. I need to look this up. I think is it the same memory as the Ti? I'm gonna look that up. I don't know. I haven't researched it, so. At least the Zotac. I think it'll be pretty decent. We're almost done here, guys. I'm trying to organize this stuff so I don't lose it. When you have a lot of random stuff like this, you got to make sure that it's all kind of not necessarily accounted for, but at least have all the little adapters and connectors when I go to try to build something else with these test sets. It's just having some organization to the chaos. Got another one of those little splitters, throw over there, and that's this one. Okay, so China power supply going over. Not gonna use it. This thing was a beast. It handled it. Doesn't smell bad. I always do the sniff test with electronics after they've been beat on properly. The Gainward 1080 Ti looks pretty cool. Gainward, man, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Gainward used to be around back in the like, oh my god, I want to say like 970 Pros and 6800 Ultras, if anybody remembers those. Remember that was like when the first Crisis was the joke, right? Like you couldn't play Crisis more than the original Crisis. You couldn't play it more than like, if you played it in ultra mode, you couldn't play it in like more than like 5 frames a second on like the best graphics card on the market. But that's, I had a Gainward something then. It's the same thing as like Galaxy. If anybody remembers the name Galaxy. I think there's a Galaxy. That's an old I use this as when we're setting up the mining rigs and we're punching the holes. We have a form for certain ones, but when I'm doing a custom one, I'll use this as my set, and to set the to get the spacing between the actual for the graphics cards. And this is a GTX 560 Ti 1 gig. So this is kind of old, but it's a Galaxy. Somewhere in these boxes back here, I have a Voodoo 3D and a Voodoo Banshee. Anybody remembers a Voodoo Banshee? And I have this thing is probably worth some money because it was kind of rare at the time. We also have, I think, a 5500 or a 5200 Voodoo, which is the longer card. I always wanted to keep it. We didn't use it very much. The drivers sucked on it. But I used to use that back in like the, I want to say, I mean, hell, we were playing Doom and shit on that, but that's kind of old school. Alright, so we're going to pull this one off to the side. We're not going to use this because I'm going to set this down to 1200. Something's under that. Little minion. Got to keep it funny. All right, good to go. Let's get a rig over here. Get this plugged in. We haven't built any fresh cases lately. It's mostly been just, most of the latest builds have been in gray matter cases. And you guys have seen those a few times, so there's no point to going through that. Anybody wants any history on that, we've had several episodes with the gray matter cases. And this is the P&Y 1070s. These just haven't been consolidated. We haven't been doing a lot of crazy purchases lately, obviously with the crypto being down. We try some. You guys like the chat being on the screen now? We got some of these coins in. Some people ordered these on our site. We ordered a whole bunch of them. They took forever to come in, but they're like little silver plated. You can't see them. Little silver plated Bitcoin coins. Can't see them very well. I'll have to switch to the other camera. Make sure I'm on that. I think we got them up there for like $4 or something, $3, but they're kind of heavy. Where is it? There you go. I mean, it's metal. All right, it says silver plated. What's it got on the back? It's got a serial number on the back of it. No. So anybody wants any cool Bitcoin props? We got them on our bitsbetrippin.com. Pretty cheap. $4, $5 maybe at most. I mean, we're pretty much just passing that through. Let's just say that. I just got them just in case people wanted something knick-knack or something to put on their desk. But real silver, it's silver plated. I don't think the whole thing is silver. That would be expensive. But they're definitely metal. I mean, it's coming from China, guys. I mean, it came from China, so I mean, I would take it with kind of a grain of salt. It's just cool, a cool press, and it's got some weight to it. It might be one of those things that you can just kind of. They come in these little plastic cases. You can put it in like a little thing, like if you have it on your desk or something at work. And it's just a Bitcoin, you know. It's just like a actual coin. Not as cool as the Cassius coins. Cassius coins were a lot cooler. We did have one of those. I had a 25 Bitcoin Cassius coin for a while. That was that's somewhere. It got moved, and I haven't been able to find it. It's like gonna be a treasure hunt when we go to move. But that was like a long time ago purchase. That was like 2012 Cassius coins, if anybody remembers those. Almost real close to buying that 1,000 Bitcoin bar back in the day. It was real expensive at the time. I think it was like $300, and it had 1,000 Bitcoin on it. That would have been a good purchase. That was actually in my cart. Somebody had put it on eBay. It was filled, and it got pulled because eBay didn't allow people to sell things that were virtual currency or said virtual currency at the time. And I literally had it in my cart to check out, and I decided not to back in, I think it was late 2011. What a stupid move there. China, huh? Oh, it's 90% lead. Hey, you know, guys, I give you guys the straight truth on everything on this stuff. I'll tell you where I got it for, where I got it. They're on AliExpress. You can find them yourself. It took a while for us to get them. I didn't think we were actually going to get them. And after a while, because I didn't get any notice or anything, it was just like, well, there goes that money. But they actually sent them. So it just took them forever. Let's get this over here. We're plugged in here. Let me make sure I got this on a kilowatt. Because what we're going to do is we're going to build this on the laptop. Here. That's not the one I want to do it with. We're going to do it with this one over here. Lead is fairly valuable. Yeah. All right. Let's set the stage here. What we got going on. So, get this moved over. I'm going to get this up to where you guys can see the power. When we do get it configured, that way you guys can see the different settings that we manipulate and what the power settings are. Our standard configuration here is we have, this is on a 20 amp. I do not have it on the 30 amp connection. Let's get this over here. 30 amps behind me. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get, there we go. I did try to 3D print a thing that somebody sent over. It was just not enough. I got to make it heavier. This thing has tons of weight. Alright, let's see how that looks. Can't see anything. There we go. You guys can see that. Awesome. Alright, so this is where I normally would have had the stream started. So how long did that take us? 26 minutes. So that's about, I was about a half hour off. This is where I wanted to get to start the stream tonight. That way we could just go straight into it and the build, but that's how far, that's how many minutes I was off. And I probably would have did it a little faster because I wasn't talking and seemed to work. Man, this thing's got Dusty sitting over there. All right, so this already has simple mining on it. We're gonna boot it up and you guys can see a baseline, and then what we're gonna do is replicate that baseline. Yeah, the kilowatt not being backlit, I just don't understand. You know, I want to send them a note. I'm surprised they don't reach out to us because we do have quite a few affiliate. You guys have done very well on the affiliates when it comes to the simple mining. Or sorry, not simple mining, the kilowatt. I'm surprised they haven't reached out and said, hey, what are you guys doing? And why? What is this thing doing? It should be popping up here. I didn't have it plugged all the way in. I may have to bounce it. We'll see if it comes up. I didn't have the HDMI all the way in. It's probably on GPU 2. Let's see. Let's just kill it. See if we get, there we go. I didn't have the HDMI all the way in, so I just restarted it. And the way this works is if you boot it up without it being plugged into this is the Asus Z270 AR. This already has simple mining on it. We're going to get a baseline from it, and then we're going to take this out and we're going to work with a different USB stick and start it from scratch. So Russell, the reason why, I mean, they could make one of those, but technically the switch actually gives you that detail. They have the built-in amp meter, and you can remote into it. So this rig right now, we have it on Ethereum. What we'll do is we'll move this video over to the laptop and I'll show you what it looks like logged in. And then we'll go through setting it up. So this one's at 31.6, 31.5, which is a pretty moderate. This is just the low power version. These cards will actually go up to 33 mega hash, but they use more power. So you can see right now the power usage on this rig, 687 watts, full system. So that's on 6 cards. That's really low wattage for a 6-card rig making 190 mega hash. So again, you can take these cards up and get 33 per card. But you'll be at like 790 to 800 watts, which just isn't worth it for a total of 10 mega hash. So that's our baseline. That's what we're going to go and try to re-achieve. Many of us would like to see a Bitsby tripping mining pool to point our rigs at. You know, guys, if I do something like that, I want to do it right. I want to be able to focus on it and make it the best thing in the world. And unfortunately, I can't put that kind of time into it right now. You know, because there's time and management, and you got to be responsive, and you want to be the best at it, right? So, right now there are people in the pool in our Discord that have pools. We're a big supporter of Hodl Pool. You got Kibbles in there that manages that. So we kind of, I guess, by proxy endorse that. We use that pool quite often for Ubik. But when you're talking like Ethereum and stuff at scale, it's hard to compete when you're looking at huge farms that are going to the larger pools. And Ethereum's got a really good ethermine.org is decent. I mean, from an output, and I've never really had any issues with it. So it just depends what kind of pool. But you know, if you have a pool suggestion or a coin that's not supported, I mean, Kibbles maybe you can take a look at it and see what the effort is on it. But we'd be more inclined to try to get a better group buy. And I've tried to float this out to some of the China providers on like the P106s to see if we could get some kind of large group buy that made sense for like the mining cards, that got them down to a point that made sense not to just go with retail. And then do something that's a little weird, which is just expose that entire margin pool. So, you know, a different level of transparency in the way markets work, to where like if the China folks could give us GPUs at $160 and then we would expose those to the community at $189, it allows us to make enough profit to pay for a fixed overhead and kind of run, I don't want to call it the autonomous organization, but organizations need funding to live and support, and if they're working on kind of a fixed margin, it gives us an ability to make sure that you guys are getting value and we're making enough to make it sense. And nobody gets rich off of overcharging for one product. They incrementally make enough margin on enough products, and then that's how Amazon works, right? Some stuff on Amazon is stupidly expensive. Some stuff is super competitive, and that's the kind of the way that business model works, is a little bit of margin on a lot of things. But I haven't been able to get any pricing remotely near acceptable unless we're talking like 10,000 plus units. And 10,000 plus units, you can get that pricing down into the like 140s, 150s. But that's a lot to take risk on. So, I mean, maybe one of the vendors will work it out to where they can do something like that. But I don't know. When you try to be honest, brokers in this world, it's tough. I'd be happy to join in. All right, so we got a baseline. We're at 36 minutes. Let's see how long. Let's take a snap here. Let's shut this down. We're going to switch the video over, and we're going to do a cradle to grave on this. So this is off. We're going to switch over to this. Now this is going to be very strange because I'm going to be using a PC for this activity and then not be able to see your comments when I do this. So what I'm going to do is make sure. Oh, where's my SpaceX at? Good question. Totally forgot it. I think it's upstairs. Yeah, we're gonna be SpaceX hatless tonight. All right, so I'm gonna go kind of dark on your guys' questions. You guys can tell people that I'm not paying attention to questions right now. We're gonna get into this, and then I will come back because I have to log out of my account here. And then sign out there. I will let you know when I'm looking at the screen there again. We're gonna go here, which should give you guys the image. Let me go back here. Okay. Now this is probably gonna be super small because this is a newer Alienware laptop that I'm on right now. My other one wasn't fast enough, so it was 7700K. It wasn't fast enough for the stuff I wanted to do. So this is got an 850 terabyte SSD. It's the 7820 HK. This is the big boy. 32 gigs of RAM, and this one's got the 1080s in it. So I had a 1070 in the other one. I wanted a 1080. And this has got the IPS screen in it. So it's got the 2560 by 1440p at 100 refresh rate, I think. Yeah, I think it was set to 100 on the hertz on the display. So I wanted something a little faster. So we got that one. So let's get into the simple mining stuff here. So the first step on this that we usually do is go to simplemining.net. And this is probably going to be super small. Let me blow this up. Display settings. We're going to go to 150. Yeah. Tell me if that's better. It should be better. You can't tell me if it's better. You know what? I can fix this. I'm going to grab my phone and I can see your chat. Let's do that. Commercials. Terraminer. Terraminers. That's hilarious. Alright. So, if I Go to live chat. Aha! Better. Now I can see your chat. Technology, folks. All right. So, main screen here, you have your R series, your RX, and your NV. Your R series is like your R9, 290s, 390s, and that. It has the checks box here. So just sometimes it's there and you guys still have to get told what's up. Miss BBT in the house. Just walked in. What's up? And then, what's up? Oh, okay. She's like, what's up? You get logged in? So you got the RX and the NV series here. And the one that we're going to look at is the NV series tonight. Right here. So let's see. I have this downloaded. I was going to see how long, if this was going to saturate our network connection. We're going to see when I'm doing this. Control J. Let's see if we stream out. We're not lagging. So when you do a Control J there, you can see. So we're getting about 8 megs a second right now. 3. We also need, while that's downloading, we need to get a tool to write this to a USB stick. So he used to have that on there. I guess he took it off. That's a new tool. Etcher IO. Let's do it. I haven't done this one. We're gonna do this one together. Usually I use Hardware HD. Raw copy is usually the thing that you usually have to use, but we're gonna download that too. But I wanna walk through it the same way you guys would have to. So we're gonna open that up real quick while this thing's still installing. Let's see here. Apache license. Okay. Install that real quick. Alright, this looks pretty straightforward. Select the image, select the device, and flash. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Where's our other download at? Downloads. 3 minutes left. I'm pretty surprised it's actually not killing the connection. Again, this is the download. Oh God, nobody's got no time for that. I'm going to cancel that because I already have it downloaded. I don't want to waste 5 minutes. So I already had it here. It's that image. So we're going to select that image on the desktop. So you guys can just imagine 5 minutes occurred. You can see I downloaded this at 8:36 this evening. We're going to highlight that. This is the USB device that's in there. It's just one that I got from Micro Center. It's a 16 gig Micro Center stick. We're going to hit flash. Starting. .22 megs a second. Two minutes. So I estimated 5 minutes. All right, I'm watching your guys' chat while that's going. This is going to take about 4 minutes. And what this is doing is writing that image to that USB stick, and it's going to put 2 partitions on this stick. One of the partitions is just enough for a text file where you're going to put in your email that Simple Mining is going to reference for you to be able, that's how it handles your account control. So instead of you having, having to make an account, even though you reference your account and put a password to it on Simple Mining's OS, it's allowing you to do that as the referential source to pair up what you have on that OS to the online dashboard that you have. That's how they communicate. So when the OS boots up, it points to that email address and says, hey, here's the credentials of the person that's going to set up the configuration for this OS. So then you can go to the dashboard online and you can log in using your email and then make changes to the configuration from the website, not on the OS. Because typically when you're using Linux or even Windows, you're making adjustments on the actual OS itself in the actual configuration files that are on the OS, to where Simple Mining separates the configuration portion to be managed through a dashboard on their website. That's the kind of underlying underpinnings. I'll switch to be a little more personal. I'll switch back to this screen. So make sure everybody understands on how that works. Is separating the configuration off rig to the dashboard that's online allows you to manipulate, control, get feedback of what the machine's doing from the online interface, which allows you to then have that from your phone and from anywhere else. It's simplified the management of a rig to a website versus you having to go to the individual rig and mess with putting a keyboard to it and all that kind of stuff. That's, I think, gets lost sometimes when people start, oh, one OS over the other or this. If you're using Ubuntu from scratch and you're loading the miners on there and all that, you're managing it on that machine. Now you can set up remote management and all that, but you're putting more risk onto it because maybe you unlock a port or a setting that can be exploited by somebody, to where you're putting that onus back on Simple Mining OS to ensure that he's done the right series of patches and security and piece there for the listener that he has set on here that goes back to his front end that we use to go and interact with, that he's managing that. Because if there's like a big issue, people are like, well, that lets a lot of onus on him to make sure that he's not doing anything bad, or that we're omitting that right to that person. Well, it's very advantageous for him to make sure that it's patched and that it's right and all that, because one bad thing on Simple Mining or any of these services that are providing that kind of thing, then people just stop using their service, right? So it's when you put that kind of, when you adjust that risk over to an individual to manage that back end, and then you're just getting to interact with the front end to manage the rig, you're taking in a confidence variable that they're going to be working to make sure that you have a good OS. We can switch back to this. Let's see where this is at. So right now it's doing a validation. So this is just on the stick. So it downloaded it to it. Now I guess it does a checksum on it just to validate that the OS was written correctly on there. Now that's going to take 8 minutes. Well, this is a cradle to grave. You guys are getting to see how long this stuff is. And I like using the Alienware, the new, this is like the latest thing. Like, this is the thing that if you were to go out to Dell.com, click on Alienware and configure like the top box out there, that's this one. So this is the 7820HK i7. They don't have any of the 8 series chips on these laptops yet. 1080. It doesn't have dual 1080s. I think it can support it. It just wasn't configurable. You can put 64 gigs of RAM in it, but this gives you a benchmark to say, if I had the best, how long would this take? And it's going to take 8 minutes. So there's a good chance that you could use this with like an i3 and it's going to be the same thing, because you're pretty much limited to the USB 3.0. I'm looking at you guys' chat. Yeah, this thing ain't gonna get any faster. Just curious if you get the error I got at the end when flashing the USB stick. I've gotten errors before using, trying to do like the DAG fix on Simple Mining here. There is, let me go back to this. On Simple Mining's OS, let's go back. When I was doing this one here, this one right here is like for if you're going to be doing Ethereum and you want to make sure that you got the right driver set for the AMD drivers, quote unquote the blockchain drivers for an RX series. This is the OS that you want to use. If you were using this OS, it does flag it to say, do you want to upgrade to this inside of Simple Mining? But if you were to build a fresh one and you're using an RX rig, this one in here, I did have an error when it was trying to write to the disk, which was a little strange. But it actually still worked. It just gave a write error at the end. So what else can we talk about while we're... If you get the error, it still worked. Yep. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe it's just it doesn't pass its checksum, but it still works. We'll let it finish here. We can talk about some other things while we're waiting. I can kind of go through some of the stuff that's been going on. So we're getting into November. November's gonna be an interesting time. We got the Segwit hard fork coming up. A lot of fun stuff with that going on. You know, people freaking out and stuff. I think it's going to be fine. I'm going to be working with Barnacules here. He had said something on his stream. I don't know if we have any of the Barnacules people on here or not, but he said in his stream that he'd like to do a collab. So we're going to... I got to work with him on a timing, but I'm going to put it out to you guys. Would you guys like to see me go there? Or would you like to see Barnacules come here? I mean, we probably could do one at each place, you know, have a collab video. I'm partial to either. I don't care, honestly. I mean, I can go out to Seattle, bring some equipment with me. You know, just find the time and do a collab video with him. But part of it makes me want to bring him here, and then we can pull a couple other rigs and maybe then do an off-site. Maybe check out the bigger mining facility in the whole 9 yards or something. I don't know. What do you guys think? So, folks that don't know Barnacules, he's got about almost 1 million subscribers on YouTube. He's got a huge Twitch following, 165,000 plus. He's actually a pretty big YouTuber slash, you know, social media personality with just, you know, the tech space in general. It'd be an ultimate nerdgasm for sure. We'd be totally dorking out. But I mean, like I've thought of a couple things that we could do. You know, we could do a full build together, like live, and just like, you know, maybe by that time we've already would have tested this 1070 Ti rig. Maybe we can do a full rig of that. Other Warrior, why do so many people under wattage their cards that are diminishing return at a certain point where the power isn't worth it? Most people under wattage their card because you can on some cards. Some cards, it's just you gotta look at all this stuff like a math problem, guys. I mean, if there's a certain task that's being used, and if it's not threading the card hard enough, it doesn't need the necessary power. So it's like power on standby, ready and available that's being used when you thread the card up, and it's using 1.075 volts. and you could run it in 0.9 and it still get the same return. It doesn't hurt what it's doing. You can, that's like adjusting the baseline, right? And then you have power limit, which will, how much juice is it going to use? So like if you say put your power limit at 60%, it'll still run that close to that same voltage. It just won't put a heavy load on the card, right? So you're adjusting the two different things. Most of the cards are voltage locked, so you can't touch the voltage, but it really comes down to whatever the load that you're putting on it, can it run at the lower voltage, yes or no? That's the first step. Two, if it does, it's not necessarily hurting the card. You're actually running less energy through it. You're not going to like cause micro fractures or anything like that. Most of the time, any kind of damage you're going to do is going to be if you're overvolting it, because you're putting too much juice through it, and you'll cause micro fractures in the actual traces. But yeah, if you can overvolt and it's stable, most of the time it gets unstable. That's the only reason I don't overvolt a lot. I did used to with the 390s and some of the 290s, just because they used a metric crap ton of power, and any amount of juice that I could pull out of it, I would. On a lot of the newer cards, I just set the power limits and I let it kind of roll. Sometimes we'll take it down a little, you know, maybe 4 or 5% on the voltage, but not much more. We are at 95% validation on this. 96, saying 17 seconds. So the other thing I was wanting to talk about, so I didn't see a lot on you guys with barnacles, I guess that'd be cool if we do it, there's been a lot of people asking me about the, you know, like I can't tell you how many people have sent me emails about, you know, hey, there's this, this upgrade I can do evidently to make me get 56 mega hash out of my 1070s, but the guy wants me to pay him, you know, 0.2 or 0.02 Bitcoin. It's fake. It's fake. It's completely fake. They're just changing the baseline in the actual tool, in the actual miner. It's not that hard to change the settings to give you a false flag. It'll report that you're getting 50 whatever, but at the end of the day, you're not getting that. Don't fall for it, guys. I mean, they may have had something going for them if they tried to manipulate it and say, hey, you're getting 36, but now you can get 39.2 with our cool driver. You know, I mean, and unless you're watching the pool heavily, it's going to give you, you would not really notice. You would think that you're getting something, but it's just, don't believe the hype. It's not, it's fake. I mean, for them going above and beyond what even the theoretical limits of the card is, well, if you just do the math on the technical output of DDR5 and what like a 1070 could do and what they were reporting, that how many millions of hashes per second it could produce, it was just theoretically impossible. So save yourself the money. Don't do it. It's not to say that there's people out there that can manipulate the driver, not the drivers, but the actual mining software to be optimized to get more hash put out of it. That is a true statement, but it's usually incremental. And you'll get like 5%, 6%, 8% max bumps in that, just because they've gotten better at the actual usage of the memory and the clock cycles and the timings and all that kind of stuff. You can get enhancement, but not like double. All right, let's get this over. So yeah, it looks like it came up. It said complete. I'm trying to move this mouse like an idiot. Let's go over here. So it's giving you this format disk because Windows thinks that it's a bad disk and it wants to format it. Or not bad disk, that it can't read it and it wants to format it to read it. In reality, it's just that's the Linux partition that it's seeing, so you want to hit cancel on that. So we did not get an error on the NVIDIA, but again, if you do get an error, like a few folks have said in the chat, and I have before on one of the DagFix one, just try to get to the actual disk. You know what? It didn't show me. There we go. So I had to pull it. This is going to sound bad. I had to pull it out and put it back in to get that to pop back up. And what we're looking at is this little config D here. Let me fix the, it looks like XSplit logged me out of the chat. One of the things I'm going to have Barney please help me with is get out of OBS Studio. Make sure it's on this one, it's on this one, okay. I'm gonna switch over to OBS Studio if I get him out here. We're gonna get this done right for I don't have to deal with XSplit failing me. Alright, so for the folks that didn't see or wasn't following that because the chat went AWOL on us, if I pull the USB stick out and I put it back in, that's going to give me that Windows, 1 to format, but you can get rid of that and then open up this, and then you'll see it under you'll have two partitions. The E drive on this now is the Linux partition, and then the D drive is just this little 8 meg partition that has the config file. So we're going to come up in here and we're going to switch it to, what was that email that I created? Hold on. I wanted to create a fresh account. I didn't want to use my account. Not that I care about using my account. I have there we go. I have a couple different accounts that I use. We're going to use this one. This is BBT Mining 01 at Gmail. So this is what we're going to use on this. I've just made a fresh rig account. You can do this too, make your own, just email just for this purpose, or you can use one that you use. And we're going to copy that, and then we're going to come in here and we're going to replace in the text file that we opened. Again, let me go slowly. On that D drive, that config file, you double click it, you bring this over, you just want to highlight this to the equals, and you want to paste in that address. That's how that rig will reference this machine. And all you do is close and save it, and then that writes that to the config file. And now we can take that config file, and we're going to take this out of the laptop. I'm going to move this over here, and then over to here, on this machine. We're going to pull out the other stick that was in there. Put this in. We're going to boot this up. You guys should see this thing start up. And what it's going to do is, we haven't configured anything, but I'm going to show you what this is going to come up to, and if we haven't configured it yet, what it's going to come to. It's going to come up and it's going to say, hey, yeah, cool story, bro. You need to configure this machine. So you can see after it's been successfully written, it's going to go through its normal Linux startup. And all this is doing in the beginning here is it's just firing up the OS. Windows does this same kind of thing, you just don't get to see all of it. Now, one of the very first tasks that Simple Mining will do when it first boots up is it's going to go through and it's going to update itself, because the image file that's on disk is not necessarily the latest. It's just a baseline. So what you see here is you see it actually going out and updating Simple Mining right now. So you can see all these lines coming across as it downloading and updating. And it's going to give you progress windows, and it's going to put all these different versions on here. So that now it's on update 11 V1128, update found, starting upgrade. I don't know what the latest is. There's V1129, V1130. So it's doing them in a sequence, a scripted sequence. So now this looks like it's done. It's saying error, config is corrupt. Something with your internet connection. It doesn't see a config because we haven't done anything with a config. So I'm going to pull this out and I'm going to put this back in the machine, and we're going to go ahead and set up the config on Simple Mining. So the Simple Mining OS is ready to rock, but there is nothing that's telling it that it can because we have not configured it. So we're going to go out now, use the same email. We're going to go here, we're going to go back to Simple Mining. We're going to log in. Actually, we're going to register because we never registered, so this is a fresh account. So we're going to come here and we're going to say that's the email. We're going to give it just a BS password. Let's just say BBT. I'm not going to tell you guys because you guys go in there and log in and mess with me. So we just created an account. You give it a password. Now that should give us an email here, which it does. Thank you for doing that. We're going to click this to activate it. That activates the account. Now we're in. We see the machine. We see that it's not doing anything. Now to give you a kind of a quick overview of this screen here, you got the name of the machine. Now this one, it's already reading the config because this machine GUID ID, the unique identifier for this particular machine, has been registered with Simple Mining before. So it actually pulls this machine as this name. This is what I had on the other account. So it's referencing it out there with a unique ID, that rig ID right there, that 5937319. It's given that rig ID out there. So circumstantially, it's now tied to this account, but this was the rig name. Now you can come here and change this, and we'll just say simple test 6x. You can change these names to give them names. Now I've seen people name them like, you know, rig 1, rig 2, rig 3, but you know, if all your rigs were painted different, you can call my boy Blue, you know, because that's this blue rig or whatever. You can give it a name that way you understand which one it is. If you have lots of them, you're going to set up rigs with the different station IDs or wherever they're at in your facility or whatever they're at. Well, then you got these groups, and these groups are the different. This is the kind of the upgrade on Simple Mining now, to where you can stage different machines in different groups. So you can make it a child of. So this is the parent, the group. The names of the different rigs of that said group is the children of it. So it's a parent-child relationship now on this. The reason why you'd want to do that is if, let's say you had 6 rigs, 3 of them NVIDIA rigs that do Zcash real well, and then you had 3 rigs that were AMD that do Ethereum really well, you'd want to separate those into 2 different groups so you can mine with your NVIDIA rigs the Zcash, and then you could mine Ethereum with your AMD groups. So you need to check this box, and you're going to give it a group, assign it to a group. So once you have that box checked, if you had multiple rigs here, you just check each box that you want to now put into a group, and then you come over here to rig groups. Now you can add a group, and that group you can call it like AMD, like what I'm going to say here, which this isn't an AMD, but I'm just going to show it for reasons of the different group stuff here. And you can add a group here called NVIDIA. And we're not customizing the selection here just yet. We can, but we're gonna. And then you got default, right? So each one of these things, bam, 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 are already all set up. There's one rig right now, part of default. Well, if we wanted to go back to rig list, so your navigation's over here on the left. You go to rig list. You see this. You can do this. Reselect it. all rig actions, no, assign group, hit the drop down, NVIDIA. You could send a reboot command to that. That way it knows it's part of that. So now it's in group NVIDIA. If I just check this and go into, hold on. Not options. Sorry. If you select this and then you go into rig groups, you'll see it now. It's in group NVIDIA because this is an NVIDIA mining machine. So that's why you can have these separated. So this is how you would separate your machines. You check them and put which group they're part of, and then you could give the different mining options over here. So the same way you used to change it, we're going to come over here. I already had kind of taken some of the settings over here. Where is it at? I had a text file right here. This had essentially just a configuration file set up to Ethereum. And I can come here, back here, and I'm going to go in and say miner program. That's going to load up all the miners. And I'm going to choose Claymore ETH version 10. This is for Ethereum. Highlight all that, paste. So right here is where you're going to write in your configuration. Now you can see what I have here, and it gives you a default here that you can copy from. Essentially all you're changing is whatever pool you're in, which for like the one that we're on right now, is us.ethermine.org:4444. Now you're probably wondering, like, where the hell did you get that at? So you get that from the different pools that you're going to mine. If this was Ethermine, you can go to ethermine.org. And then right here on this page, you can go into help. Or well, actually, I think if you scroll down here on theirs, yeah, they have it right down here. So you can see, here's their different Stratum servers. This is where you're pointing it to. So right here is that base server that you're going to point. You could go here or this one over here. So we're just doing US East because that's the closest one to us. If you're in the West Coast, you want this one. Now, it's not going to matter too much if you're using one or two anywhere in the US. It's just a matter of how far are you from the ping and are you going to submit stealth shares or not. So you always want to try to be the closest to wherever you're mining from. So like if you're in the US, don't use the EU server. It's just, you have a chance to get more stealth shares. And it comes down to just the way proof of work operates when you're submitting your work package to make sure that, I mean, let's do a quick poll. Does people understand in the chat how proof of work operates? Like in general? Did I miss any super chats too? Because I want to make sure. Okay.
It won't let me scroll back to see.
Okay. Let's make sure. So yeah, we're going to set this here. We'll take a quick poll if people want me to explain how proof of work works, of why you would want to know the differences there or not. We're going to hit reboot because what we've done is we pasted it in our settings under Claymore ETH. Each of these are just different miners. You can see ETH. You really don't need 96, 97. There's some people that live by saying that they had better luck of their rigs not rebooting with some of the older versions. That's why he keeps that stuff in there. But I would recommend using Claymore ETH 10 if you're using Ethereum. If you're doing Ubik or any other Ethereum chain-based mining, you would still use this miner. Don't be confused that it's Ethereum. You would just change this to the Ubik hodl pool address, and then you'd put your address for your Ubik right here, and just replace that. This all pools selection right here, all pools 1, that's just telling them that it's okay that it's a different pool that's Ethereum, and that it's going to mine something else besides Ethereum. That it's a fork of Ethereum that they've re-tagged as a different token. So you would just need to change your pool I mean, these are the three components: your pool, your address, and then just make sure that all pools are there if it's something else other than the pool. Now, some of the other addresses, like if you're going to do dual mining in that, you're going to see more. You have to have more content over here to the right of this, and we'll do that here in a second. We'll push this config over right now, and we'll reboot. And what I'm going to show you is I'm going to show you another kind of trick to where you can have your separate pools all configured in here in group names, and don't group it by just the rigs. You could have Ethereum, Psi, Ethereum, Decred, XMR. You could set your groupings up. Here, we'll do that. We'll do XMR. We'll call this one the XMR grouping. We'll set that to this. Nanopool. Do I have an address for Nanopool? Let me see here. Let's open up. Multi-miner. Oh, I don't have Notepad++ on here. Detour, don't mind this part. Notepad++. I need to put Notepad++ on this laptop. This is a fresh build on the laptop. Do a quick config. Miss BBT sneezing down here.
Fall allergies.
All right, that's loaded. I need that to just open up the multi-miner. What I'm going to do is grab one of the configs out of the multi-miner. That way I can, let's just drag this guy over here. And then what we're going to do is go down to XMR. Let's see here where XMR is up. Ethereum Classic, Monero. Here we go. I did have XMR. So I got my XMR stuff up here. Address. Right here. So what we're going to do is take this one out. So that's my XMR address that we can mine to. And we're going to go back, simple mining, and we're going to change this. See the XMR address. Now this is just the address. We need a space behind after that, so that's the address. And then this rig name, we can just call it something else, like 6x NV. There we go. So you got to make sure there's spaces between these things. So there's a space between each of these little things. Like when I pasted that in there, it put it right up against the X, this is the wallet address. You need a space between those. It's very critical. Most mistakes that happen when you guys are trying to set up your miners is because the syntax is not correct. There's not a space where there needs to be a space. It's like the common mistake in general. I mean, I make them all the time. Everybody makes them. Just watch any kind of live tutorial video. It's hilarious that we all run into the stupidest stuff. So we're going to add this group. Now why I did that is this is just a different way to do it. You could have your 8 different mining configurations in simple mining right here. Right? I don't know why we have 2 of them here. But that might be a bug where it just duplicated it. That's hilarious. But on his simple mining. But you could set up your one rig, but with all these different configs. Right? So that if I wanted to switch it, I could switch it out. Is this thing running? Hell yeah, it's running. Let's go back over here, rig list. And we'll come back to the XMR here in a second. I just wanted to make that rig list. Hey, this thing's actually cooking. Getting it done. Honey badgers don't care. Honey badgers don't care I'm talking about putting this thing together and starting up some configuration. Honey Badger's mining. I felt the heat coming off of it. I was like, is this thing actually working right now? So we're rocking in at 31.79 megahash, or they already got their configuration settings. So it was pulling the configuration settings that was already assigned to this. Since this was an existing rig inside of this database, it pulled my other initial configuration. Normally this would be all zeros. It would just take the default out of the box. So what we have on this rig right now is a slight, small, little bump and overclock. We got the power limit down to 100 watts. Now this is standard. It is at about 175, 150. Right? That's equivalent to what these cards normally would draw. So I'm dropped it down saying don't pull any more than 100 watts per card. So essentially that's what you're seeing in those cards, where those cards are pulling, this machine only pulls 30 watts idle, 39 watts idle without the cards, and then these cards are pulling 91 to 100 watts, a little under right now, per card, and the risers are pulling about 30. That's why we're getting almost 700 watts being used out of 6 cards. So, I mean, not much at all. But if you wanted to change these settings, like if I came in here and set this to 1500, I'm going to change that, and now it's going to push that setting here. And if we go and let me set this over here, that way you guys can see it push to the mining rig, the actual rig itself. I'm going to power the rig down and reboot it, that way you guys can see the mining, or the configuration that I just pushed to it. So we'll let this get booted up here. Oh, I totally didn't have this plugged in all the way. Again. There we go. I got this board just right to where it doesn't like I have to shimmy it in. I'm watching your guys' chat. Did we have any, let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats. John Perry had a super chat. Rick can only find 9 of 10 cards, or 8 of 9. So I'm thinking different rig. It more than likely it's a riser, buddy. That or a configuration, and if you're only using 9, I'm assuming it's a Z270 with maybe a PCIe expander on the M2 drive or SATA connector. Miss BBT, you awake?
Not really.
She's not really. She's got a late, an early morning. And there it goes. It pushed. We'll see if it pushes 1500. I don't know if 1500 works on these cards. So there is, there's the little, yep, it just killed it. Let's see if it's stable. It was getting 32.5, but it died. Yeah, there's 32.3. 30. But I don't think this is stable running at that speed. I mean, it looks like it is, but we're not feeding it more power. It was only giving us 3 more mega hash. But then if I go in and I switch that, let's switch this back down because I don't think 1500 is stable. We're going to switch it to 350, we'll hit save, and then I'm going to switch it to the XMR group, and then you'll see that switch. We just made the push of the change. That's where you see it getting killed and restarting. So that all is still the same compared to the old simple mining. It goes and pushes the settings to it. So there's that setting, and let's go in and change the assign group to the XMR, reboot, save. That should push the change. I'm reading your guys' comments right now while we wait for this thing to boot up. Seeing if I missed anything. Will a PCI expander work on an ASRock H110 Pro BTC? I don't think so. I think it runs out of memory resource error. I did try it with one of ours, a couple of our adapters, and it just won't post. Is the Vega Pro Frontier any more better than the expensive, or is it being other than being expensive better than a Vega 64? I would go with the Vega 64 if you're going with either of them. The Frontier, from what I've seen, is not any better. No AMD GPU skill. So I guess that's not for. Oh, that's an AMD GPU miner. Ha! Fail. That was Claymore, wasn't it? Yep. That is no bueno on NVIDIA rigs. So I would assign that group as AMD just for I wouldn't mess that up, and I did not do that. I would recommend setting that group that way. We'll switch back to this real quick so we can see exactly what I was talking about here. So under these groups, I'm going to delete this group. So this here is for XMR. This is AMD only. So should be able to click this and just set XMR AMD underscore AMD. Save. And then like this group, if you wanted to do ETH and SIA, you could say ETH, SIA, because it doesn't matter, it'll work with both. Oh, it doesn't like that. Error. You may have some little bugs here and there. Maybe the underscore's throwing it. But if we set this to, let's say, Ethan library, let's add a group, or let's do Zcash. Let's do that one first. We add group Zcash. Ha! Look at that, it added 3 Zcashes. So he's obviously got a bug here in the grouping. So if you get multiples, it looks like that's pretty normal. And then I'm gonna go in here to get my config for Zcash. Where is my config for Zcash? Zcash, here we go. Zpool. Copy that. We're going to overwrite some things on it, but Zcash, we're going to come in here. We're going to go into WDF. Looks like the latest one there. Don't know why it's not expanding though. We should be getting the let's delete that. Miner program. His interface isn't working. I would say if you're having this issue, it probably broke his little, I'd hit a refresh. We'll see if it fixes that. It did. We're going to paste in this. And then we're going to come back. We're going to save it. We're going to come back and we're going to re-edit it because I need to put in the address and email and all that. So we're going to put in now normally you guys would have this written down or whatever. I'm just using this as my example. Zcash. Because it's a quick reference guide for me to get to the addresses I have. So then I can come in here and get rid of the percentage. Just to the period. Paste. Miner name. NVIDIA. 1070. And then the email, if you want to put an email in there, that's just to tell you if your worker has went offline. There's a / there and then an email address, bbtminer01@gmail.com. You could put that in there and then that will notify you if your machine went offline. That's what that's for. We're going to send a reboot to the rig there. And then we're going to come into rig list. which will take us back to where the actual list of the rigs. Maybe. We'll hit refresh. We'll hit rig list again. There we go. And then we're going to check this box and we're going to hit assign group. We're going to hit this drop down. We're going to go down to Zcash. Now you can see why I'm doing that with all these different things, and we're going to tell it to go do a reboot. So now it switched the rig to the Zcash portion. And we're going to pull this and then put it here so you guys can see the rig take the update. And now it should be booting up and take us to Zcash. Yeah, using the groups right now, even if you have one rig, is good to switch between your coins. So it allows you to not have to go in there and have all your different configs. You can just preset them all into the different groups. It's kind of a way to allow you to quickly manage your rigs if you want to. And you could just assign, if you had like 8 rigs, you could just assign them all to those different groups that are your coins. It's a different way to manipulate the configuration. I didn't like the way I had that configured. Now that could be the syntax because I wasn't using, let me look at my simple miner. Did I use the EFBW? Let's see here. No, that was the ZC miner. Hold on. That might have a different syntax to it. Farm check, ETH wallet, yeah. So I need to be feeding it different syntax than that. Hold on. Config. Change. Rig group. I'll show you what I'm doing here in a second. I'm going to push it. Copy. Paste. And then we're going to save that. We're sending that restart command to the rig. See if it gets the kill notice. There are a lot of configs. Unfortunately, it's not. Simple mining just makes the task of, the mining simple, but you still have to manage the configurations, and all the configurations are a little different because the algorithms are a little different. And the algorithms and the way they compile the miners and all that kind of stuff has different command structures and references, so can use Arduino language in reference to syntax A1. Point that rig to Flypool and use my address. Maybe we'll bring that back. We used to do, we used to take your guys' addresses on the live stream. Maybe we'll, on one of our next live streams, we'll do a little pick from the list and assign some rigs to your guys' stuff. Nope, I didn't configure it right. The configure for EBWF I have in the multi-miner is not the same config as the one that's in simple mining, evidently. But that's fine. It's just a syntax piece there. It's just a matter of making sure that I'm following that. If I just use their default syntax, it'd probably work fine. If I go back into oh, you guys don't want to see that screen if it's not working. So yeah, simple mining looks like it has a little fun when you're trying to go to certain pages, so you just have to hit the refresh button. Mining program, so here's their default config. Server, so I don't have that. That's the thing I'm missing. Maybe if I just follow his little example here. FS is failsafe server. Let's get rid of all that. We'll do this. And then that minus pass x minus port 33383. You guys can see how many times the thing's restarted, and that's a lot of that's from our stuff. You can reset that counter if you want that to go back to 0. And then this shows you the 3 days remaining. If you want to add more funds to the account, you would click that. And then you could deposit via the different coins, ETC, ZEC, ETH, and BTC. You click that, it's going to create a depository, That's the address that you'd send to deposit to, and then however much you want to purchase. It's $2 a rig per month is the cost of simple mining. And let's see if this thing's actually doing anything. Probably gonna have to restart the mining rig. Watching your questions. You guys got any questions? You have double ports. I put double ports in there. Oh yeah, I don't need the O. I need user. Syntax, folks. Good eye. It doesn't look like I have dual ports in there, but I did definitely have an incorrect config. So we got that. Which OS do we use on most of the rigs? We usually use simple mining. Incorrect stratum user. Still syntax failing. I'm not worried about it. I wouldn't be using any BWF anyways. But again, it's, yeah, I saw that you fixed the port. Yeah, that might be the wrong address for yeah, I copied Ethermine before. That's the problem. I have the incorrect address in there for my Zcash wallet. But that's okay. And it should be -- server. I had -- server in there, I think. -- server space. Yeah, that's all right. I only have one dash on the user, and that's the problem. It's -- user. So I couldn't read the address, but I also had to fix my address because I had the incorrect address on it too. Well, we'll do it. We'll boot it. Hold on. Reboot. Save. Syntax has to be perfect. Needs the double dash. It's a journey. Who?
Or is everything safe on my white computer?
On your white computer? Right behind me? Why?
Because I need it.
We're wrapping this up here soon. I mean, I'm just doing different configurations. I'm watching chat on my phone. What's that?
The tote you forgot in the shed.
We'll see. Oh, it's working. It's amazing what happens when you have right syntax in there. Now we're gonna, I had this way underclocked for this, so I just sent a adjustment on the clocks. Mining is life consuming. It's just the syntax, guys. Anytime you're editing syntax like that, it has to be absolutely perfect. A little better. They're getting warmer though. Yep, I'll show you guys if you guys are interested in seeing what the final syntax was on that. You can see them temperature throttle in there. Let's go back to this. So the final under rig groups. You can see the different groups that we have here under Zcash for EFBW. That was the final syntax. The -- server space pool name space -- user. There is not a space between that, I don't think. Let me look. Yep, there's a space between user and the actual ID for your address, and then there's a period, and then your rig name, then a space, then dash dash pass, that's for the password, space the X, and then a space dash dash port space, there's a space between the port and the numbers there, see, and then the port number. I had a 0 there before, I had 1 dash there before. I mean, there was a lot of different errors, but that gets you that to work. And then when you come back in here to rig list, it's showing that it's functioning, and I bumped this up 135, 1350, 75. We'll save that there. $14.25. 95. And let's go back here. And see what we get. We shouldn't need that high of memory. I should be able to bring the memory down. We're pushing that G3 over its limit. $1,030 on a 1,000-watt power supply. So not ideal. For 2750, you can see the strain that a Zcash will put on a rig. And they got a little louder. It's about so when I talk, it jumps up to 80. So it may sound loud on the actual Rode mic, because that's a directional mic, so it's going to pick it up and focus on it, but it's not that bad. Let's get this on. I'll just power it down. That way we don't kill this power supply since we're running it over spec. And that dropped the audio some. So that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not much more in simple binding. You can configure the different, if we were doing AMD, it would be that same process. We would have just chosen the AMD piece there. I'd like to have had an AMD machine here ready for you guys. Maybe we'll do a different one with the AMD machine and have both going and maybe get a little more crazy with the configs. But I wanted to do this, just a cradle to grave setup, configuration, changing a few things. I'm glad we did have some issue with the syntax because that is a real thing that happens a lot and gives you the confidence that if you just keep trying on it, you'll get it. Just make sure that you're following what they're saying there. It does help. Drop into the Discord channel on bitsbetrippin.com. On Discord, there's a lot of people in there. They all kind of help out each other, and all we ask is that people pay forward that knowledge. So if somebody is in there and helps you, and it's worked, and you're like, freaking right, man, I've been working on this forever, and finally I got this thing working, you guys are awesome or something. You guys drop that in there, and then just, if you're lurking in there and you see somebody struggling, just remember the position you were in before, and you're like, oh shit, that dude probably really needs some support. And just drop them a quick, not a lot of time, man, just say, hey, I got 2 minutes, dude, here, try this out. And I think that paying forwards was made that community really good. There's some people that really kind of just lurk in there a lot and help out a lot, but if we have a collection of people that kind of get all 3 time zones, and I'm saying, like US, Europe, and essentially the Asian, Pacific, Australia, that kind of, if we have a circular, a full coverage on that, and everybody's helping each other, it's just going to make this community better and help each other out, and grow it. Because as people start to realize and understand the capabilities of a public chain network and understand that there's a lot of contributing people into it, and it's got a robust infrastructure in place, it's going to allow developers to have confidence to build cool software to put on top of this network. And don't worry about, that you hear from the big entities out there in the world of like, oh, you can't do that because of this. It's like, hey, we're knocking down walls, man. So this infrastructure is a good platform for people that are building cool stuff, to build other coins and stuff to allow us to participate in it. So if we have a good, robust, set of folks that are, you don't have to go crazy balls out and have 50 graphics cards, man. You can do this with 1 graphics card, right? And just contribute to the system, get a little crypto in your wallet for the exchange of that time. That's what this is about. So we'll see if we got any comments or anything from folks before we get off of here tonight. We do need to do Pimp OS. I did buy it. I did have it. We tried it for something one day, and we never did anything. I was going to give them a proper review. We'll do a proper Pimp OS review. We got some more shirts out there on bitsbetrippin.com. Shameless plug for those. We got stuff like this out there. It's like winter, and if you shed a little stuff over the winter, when it dries up, it will show though, because these are all black. If our next series ordered, we'll maybe mix it up and get some different shirt types and colors. Maybe like navy or something like that. I'm watching the chat right now. It's kind of delayed, so if you guys pop anything in there, and I think I got to all the super chats. If I didn't, drop me a line on bitsbetrippin.com, say, hey, ass, I gave you a super chat, and you didn't say anything. So drop me at bitsbetrippin@gmail.com, put super chat in the text, and I'll respond to you as quick as possible. And then again, drop by that Discord. It's on bitsbetrippin.com. We're doing some updates. I have some updates to push to the shop. We're going to clean some stuff up. There's a whole bunch of crap in the shop, and we're going to fix that. Recreate some new links. A lot of that shop just forwards you guys to Amazon. It's just doing us a solid when you guys are ordering stuff and doing some random purchases, or if your wives or whatever are doing some shopping, just hit that affiliate link. That helps us out to do stuff that we're doing, and bring more content to you guys. And we'll try to bring that collab video. I'm going to get with Barnacle hopefully this week to figure out a plan for maybe next week or the week after. This weekend, I'm going to pull this guy back up, and we're going to go through this together. This is a dual Vega 64 setup right now. We're going to take these back through the gamut and try some XMR. There's been some cool stuff going on with the XMR and the Vega 64. So we're going to do that. I know some people have been interested in that. So I'm looking at that. If we can't do it tomorrow, I'm going to try on Sunday, maybe a morning or afternoon. Or a morning, because in the afternoon we're busy. It's Miss BBT's birthday next week, so on early next week. So we're going to be going out on Sunday afternoon. So I got to do the husbandly duties for that. She's giving me a look, and so we're going to be busy with that. But I'm going to try to do one maybe in the early morning. So that might be like 9, 10. We'll try to do an early one for a couple hours, maybe an hour, and go through the Vega 64. We also have the Vega 56 that I still want to take the BIOS off of that and put it on one of the, or take the BIOS off one of these, put it on that. We have all three. All three are different brands. So we have Sapphire, MSI. Let's see here. We got it right here. So I'm going to try not just XMR. I'm going to take it back through all the different cryptos. We'll do Zencoin and some of the other stuff that's hot right now. So we got the XFX 64. We got the Sapphire Vega 64 8 gig, and then we got the Power Color 56. So this is the Vega 56. So I'll take one of the BIOSes off of one of these and put it on this one and see what happens. I'd also like to do, for the folks that care, now for the mining scene you guys probably don't care, but for the folks that care, I did refire back up another channel that I had on Twitch, and what I'm going to try to do is have all this stuff on YouTube, just because it's kind of working. That's where the community's at. We're going to continue to do these on YouTube, but on the Twitch side, on like the side when we actually have, believe it or not, I do actually get some time to do some gaming and stuff. I have a Twitch channel for that. I didn't want to confuse the community and have like under Bits Be Trippin'. So that's Meta Gaming Vids. It's META Gaming VIDS. Meta Gaming Vids. It's out there. It has kind of like a cool MV looking icon. But you may catch us randomly just doing some streams on that. We do a game night on Wednesday nights. Usually I bring a lot of the developers and folks over that I work with, and we go through just whatever the cool game of the week is, or of that. So it's just a lot of the stuff that we usually talk about. Why I'm telling you guys that is, what I was doing last night on it, I had a few people come over from Discord, and I was just answering questions. So like when you guys are trying to get questions to me when I'm doing the live stream, it's hard. But on that, if I'm just sitting there just throwing down some time on some games, well, I can have that the Twitch feed scrolling. That's a lot easier than YouTube's limited chat window. So it's a lot more robust, and I can get some more questions fielded when I'm just sitting there doing some gaming. So I'm going to try to do that. Whenever I'm taking the time to do some like chill gaming, I don't mind answering questions, or so come to those with your questions. That's the kind of setup. So there's going to be kind of a weird, I'm playing video games and answering your guys' crypto questions. So if that interests you guys don't have to be interested in the game, but maybe that's a good time to get to me if you're needing some questions. So from that, we'll let you guys get back to it, and thanks for stopping in and checking out the Simple Mining video, and drop us a thing in the suggestions. I know that Vega is going to be one of the suggestions that people were asking for. Go to the suggestions tab on Discord and drop us some suggestions.